all across America and around the world. This is Veterans Radio. This is Veterans Radio.
Welcome to Veterans Radio. I am Jim Fausone. I'm the officer of the deck today. We've got some great programs for you. I think you'll find very interesting. We always want to remind you, you can find more about Veterans Radio at its Facebook site or by going to veteransradio.net, where we're on the web 24/7. You can find a lot of our podcasts there as well. We post new ones every Tuesday, so you can get a new story, a new interview, something you didn't know before by going to veteransradio.net. And before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors. First up, we want to thank National Veteran Business Development Council, NVBDC.org. It was established to certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses. You'll find out how they can help your business by going to NVBDC.org. We want to thank Legal Help for Veterans. Legal Help for Veterans fights for veterans' disability rights all across the nation. You can reach them at 800-693-4800 or on the web at legalhelpforveterans.com. Contact us if you'd like to be a sponsor on Veterans Radio, and let's move on to our program. Welcome. I am Jim Fausone, and this is Veterans Radio's Spotlight on National Veteran Business Development Council, our monthly spotlight with NVBDC.org. Veterans Radio America has a partnership with NVBDC, which is the nation's leading third-party authority for certification of veteran-owned businesses of really all sizes. It's a 501c3 nonprofit established in 2013. It addresses the growing need to identify and certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses in the government and commercial or corporate marketplace. NVBDC administers a rigorous certification process designed to withstand the scrutiny of governmental and corporate entities seeking to utilize certified SD and VOBDs. We want to welcome to Veterans Radio today Bill Nelson, who is on the NVBDC Advisory Board. Bill, welcome to Veterans Radio.
Jim, thank you so much for inviting me to your show. It's a true pleasure to join you and your audience.
Well, we always like to get different perspectives on things relative to veteran-owned businesses and certifications. And let me start by pointing out that Bill served his Uncle Sam in the U.S. Army and spent a little vacation time in Vietnam. We'll talk about that a little later. But he came back and picked up his BBA degree in accounting and finance and an MBA as well. He went on to work at Time Inc. and ultimately at Home Box Office Inc., or HBO as we all know it, becoming the HBO Chief Executive Officer, CEO, and retiring there after a long stint in September of 2012. But Bill, we're going to talk initially about the National Veteran Business Development Council and your involvement on its advisory board, how you got involved, what your involvement entails, that sort of thing. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, the National Veterans Business Development Council is a rigorous and credible third-party VOB certifying entity that, meets the very difficult and demanding corporate standards. So I met Keith King, who is the founder and CEO of the NVBDC. It received its IRS status in 2014. But I knew Keith way before then. He was an officer at the Vietnam Veterans of America, and I used to go out to the national conventions while I was with HBO. And, we used to showcase some of our shows about the military and also hand out some of the DVDs to everyone present. And we became really close friends and, both Vietnam vets and VVA members. So, Keith approached me and basically told me of, what his idea was. And I thought, wow, that's an important thing to have VOBs be certified so that corporations looking to use them can easily reach out and do business with them. So, I was really happy through Keith to get involved with the NVBDC.
Well, as somebody who sat at the top of a very large public company, was it your experience that other similarly situated CEOs were also looking for, hey, I'd like to get more veteran businesses involved, but I want to make sure that they're legit?
Yeah, I think that's the correct way to phrase it, is that many corporations, had a sense that veterans returning from service, no matter where or when, basically needed to find a transitioning into civilian employment. And there are great qualities, obviously, that you pick up in the service and great skills. And I think that a lot of those managers of those civilian businesses said, hey, let me reach out to these VOBs and see what they have to offer. And clearly, one of the main things that they want to make sure of is that it is run by a eligible veteran, so to speak, and not only is it owned by an eligible veteran, but also that it is actually operated by that veteran. Because there were cases where some entities said, hey, I'm going to hire a veteran as kind of a face forward for this corporation who has no input or management skills, and try and hold myself out as a VOB. And I think many corporations found that and were extremely disappointed. So they certainly desired to make sure that if they were going to engage with a VOB, that it was in fact just that.
Well, I think one of the things that you probably experienced in that private sector work that you did so successfully is that most corporations, while they want to help veterans, they have no real way to screen or understand whether or not this is an appropriate veteran-owned and operated organization. And that's really what NVBDC does. It comes in and applies a pretty rigorous analysis. As you've seen this in action, do you feel it meets the needs of the business and corporate community?
Yeah, I mean, we have been told so by major corporations who are looking to use VOBs, and the National Veterans Business Development Council basically is as you said, the leading VOB certifying entity and the only one accepted by the $1 Billion Roundtable members, and that's a group of corporations whose market cap is in excess of $1 billion, who are focused on supplier diversity, including VOBs, and they include AT&T and Apple and Avis and Bank of America and IBM and CVS and Ford, and I could just keep going on. It's a big list, and they basically are the ones who said, look, we want to hire VOBs, but we want to make sure that they are, in fact, what they say they are. And so when the National Veterans Business Development Council, Keith's idea, he birthed that and staffed it with a very powerful staff, stepped forward, they ran to it. I mean, Keith has, through the National Veterans Business Development Council, over 100 plus major corporate members who are quote partners that represent, I think, something like $2 billion in supplier diversity contracts. So this is really big business, and it's very important, for those VOBs. And I think the National Veterans Business Development Council is doing just a wonderful service.
We're talking to Bill Nelson, who's a media executive and Vietnam veteran and advisory board member for NVBDC.org. And we're talking about the importance of being certified from the corporate end of it. But I think you alluded to it, Bill. It also creates opportunity for the business, doesn't it?
Yes, look, it creates opportunity on both sides. It creates opportunity for the VOB in that whatever their skill set is and whatever the corporation is looking for. That's one of the things that the National Veterans Business Development Council does as well, besides certifying, is it actually does a hosting and networking with the corporate partners who are looking to hire VOBs, and certainly VOBs who are looking to be used. And so, it's a benefit on both sides. And I think it actually raises the output of not only the VOB, but of the employing corporation as well. Look, we all learn from those who we deal with, and I think that the skills that are learned through the military and the technology that you're capable of doing really empowers those VOBs. And I think in certain cases above just normal civilian suppliers. So in those cases, not only is the VOB successful, but the employing corporation is learning things that they might not otherwise learn. So it's really a plus on both sides.
Bill, let me turn to another area here, and that's you were drafted into the Army during the Vietnam War, spent a year in Vietnam with the 101st Airborne Division, I believe. Tell us a little bit about that deployment and how it ended up impacting much of your career.
Yeah, well, I actually enlisted with a best friend of mine. We were both attending Pace University, and both our families, all of the men had served in World War II, and we were patriotic. And my friend came to me and said, we actually should step forward and enlist. And we did just that, and we went in on the buddy system, and went through training together, and we actually flew together to Vietnam, and we were deployed in the same brigade. Unfortunately, he was killed in Vietnam, but it was through the training and through the experience there. I mean, I was with the 101st Airborne, 2nd and 2nd Strike Force Infantry. And we were literally in the boonies for 60 or 70 days at a time and making contact and all of that. So it was certainly a life-changing experience, and it really had a dramatic impact on shaping me. And which I had a difficult transition when I got home, but I think the experiences that I had and the training that I had really played a big role in my success in the business world.
Well, no bad day as a CPA or at Time Inc. or at HBO would have ever compared to those experiences. And sometimes I suspect you looked back and said, well, today really sucks, but not as bad as it did back then, right?
That's true.
I think we've all said that to ourselves.
Well said is right. Again, I'll say it. I actually, attribute a lot of my success to my training and experiences. It's a radical transition from me to we. Meaning the success of the team certainly transcends the success of any individual. In other words, if the mission succeeds, we all succeed. So, as you mentioned, I worked at HBO for almost 30 years. And, I took what I learned in the military and applied some of it there. And I really helped foster a culture and spirit of collaboration. I mean, we broke down the so-called walls of each department and fostered cross-department problem solving and joint practices and cross-department brainstorming, because I wanted each department to understand not only their value and responsibilities, but just like the military, you got to understand those elements for every department and understand how it all is interdependent. So me and my team, we actually broke down the silo approach and formed what I would say was a true, very successful culture of team. We had a collective approach, a collective mentality, collective spirit. And I actually learned with the application of those skills that I learned in the military to corporate life, is that, only through a true team approach, which is what you learn in the military, where every member understands the benefits of that approach to the organization and embraces it, only then, and I really believe this, only then can an organization achieve its greatest potential. So, I was affected by my service in a big way, and I actually attribute my success to what I learned in the military.
And we're talking to Bill Nelson, U.S. Army Vietnam vet, former CEO of HBO. And Bill, you're still involved in veteran issues and organizations. I know today you're a consultant on a lot of topics in the media area, but tell us about your current other involvements in veteran projects, along with being on the advisory board for NVBDC.org.
Yeah, in the New York City community, there's a big population of veterans, and there was a lot of opportunities that came along that thankfully I was able to step forward and say, look, I'll volunteer and do this or that. And, the first was the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 126, which is very active in New York City. It participates greatly in the New York City Veterans Day Parade. And it basically goes and visits, veterans in some of the VA hospitals and that type of thing. I'm also on the board of the Friends of Vietnam Veterans Plaza. In 1985, the mayor was Ed Koch. He was a World War II Battle of the Bulge veteran who basically said, it's time for New York City and this country to actually embrace the warrior, if not the war, and followed what happened in D.C. in 1982 with the dedication of that memorial, and put a committee together and built the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in New York City. And I'm on the entity that is responsible for maintaining that memorial. And over the years, we've put in a walk of honor that lists the names of the 1,774 New York City residents killed in Vietnam. We also put in a big bronze battle map and plantings and everything else that we did to really enhance that memorial. And our obligation now is to continue to maintain it. And there's a huge story behind that memorial. It's based on letters home written from Vietnam veterans to their families. And certain of those letters were selected and excerpts taken for them. And those words are engraved on that memorial. It's a very powerful memorial and meaningful one and solemn ground. So it's an honor for me to be on that board. I'm also connected with Hope for the Warriors, which you mentioned earlier, which is an outstanding, highly rated organization dedicated to post 9/11 veterans. The Vietnam Veterans founding motto for the Vietnam Veterans of America is never again will one generation of veterans abandon it. And like me, I think many, many, many Vietnam vets embrace that. So not only are we looking out for our era of veterans, but we're looking out for those who came after us, and certainly all that happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, those veterans who 20 years of war who have come home certainly need great support, and that's what Hope for the Warriors does. And they have the highest rating by Charity Navigator, I think, for 11 years in a row, and the highest rating for great nonprofits for something like 8 or 9 years in a row. So it's an outstanding organization. And I would say to your listeners, if you want to lend a hand to a group of post 9/11 veterans, Hope for the Warriors is one outstanding organization.
Yeah, and I would tell folks, go to hopeforthewarriors.org, which is its website. It's got, as Bill Nelson mentions, a great Charity Navigator rating. It's also gives you information on Cone Veterans Clinic, which focuses on mental health issues. We've had the opportunity to talk to those folks in the past as well. And Bill, I think this really describes a lot of veterans, and that is, we went into service, maybe we were young and dumb, But hopefully we came out and had a, however you want to define successful life thereafter. But we're now also giving back, and I want to congratulate you on giving back to your fellow veterans, whether it be on the advisory board of NVBDC.org or with Hope for the Warriors or any of the other efforts that you're involved in. I really think that's an important piece of the fraternity that veterans make up in this country. It's a smaller than it used to be fraternity, but it's still important to work with each other, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Veterans have a lot in common because similar training and varied experiences, but they've stepped forward, whether volunteered or drafted. And back in those days when the draft was there, but today it's all volunteer. Stepped forward and said, "Okay, I'm going to take a part of my lifespan and dedicate it to this country," and basically surrender themselves to the military. And by that I mean, wherever you're told to go, you will go, and whatever your job will be, you will do it. And so there's a great amount of sacrifice in a way, and you're away from your family at times and all of that. But when you come back, you stand taller than the rest who have not served. That's what I believe, because you really went out and did something that made this country a little bit better.
Well, we certainly feel that you've been able to make the country a little bit better, both as a result of your military service, your involvement with NVBDC.org and these other veteran organizations, and probably we've all watched the movies on HBO that you brought to us, so we appreciate that too. So, Bill Nelson, really appreciate the time that you spent today with Veterans Radio to put a little more spotlight on NVBDC, but also tell us a little bit about your involvement in veteran causes. Thanks for joining us today, Bill.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Jim. It's very nice to chat with you and your listeners. Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for listening to Veterans Radio today. I am Jim Fausone. It's been a pleasure to be your host. I'm a veterans disability lawyer at Legal Help for Veterans, and you can reach us at 800-693-4800 or legalhelpforveterans.com on the web. You can follow Veterans Radio on Facebook and listen to its podcasts and internet radio shows by going to veteransradio.net. And until next time, you are dismissed.
If you have a VA claim denied by the Board of Veterans' Appeals, contact Legal Help for Veterans at 1-800-693-4800. They're experts in handling cases before the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. Their number again, 1-800-693-4800.
We again want to thank our national sponsors, the National Veterans Business Development Council, NVBDC.org, VA Ann Arbor Health Care System, the Vietnam Veterans of America Charles S. Kettles Chapter, Ann Arbor, Michigan, VFW Graf O'Hara Post 423 in Ann Arbor, and the American Legion Press Corn Post 46, also in Ann Arbor. They keep us on the air, as does your support. Go to Facebook, go to veteransradio.net, and support our efforts. And until next time, you are dismissed.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.